Hi, so I'm about to do some experiments using lead. Now, lead is a red flag to the Health and Safety Brigade, so I thought I would do this video on the dangers of lead to try and head off some of that stuff. It probably won't, I'll probably still get comments because some of the people who need to watch videos like this to inform themselves, of course, don't, which is really mildly depressing. But at least it gives me somewhere to say, go and look at that video, rather than having to write a huge reply a dozen times, which gets quite tiresome, to be honest. But anyway, the dangers of lead. The problem with lead is in our psyche, we have been brought up to believe that it's scary, dangerous stuff. Well, it just isn't. The thing about health and safety is it's a dual responsibility. It's not my responsibility to make sure your health and safety is looked after. It's my responsibility to make sure that you put the work in to make sure that your health and safety is looked after. So by warning you, that's the limit of what I need to do. The rest of health and safety, that's up to you. It's not up to me to look after you. It's up to you to look after you. I can just give you a few hints about how to do it, and then the rest is up to you. So lead. Here's a lump of lead. Now, like this, as lead metal, it's about as dangerous as getting caught in a shower. It's completely something not to worry about. If I leave that lead sitting there, nothing's going to happen. Nothing at all. In order for lead to be dangerous, it has to get into your body. And that piece of lead, unless it's from planet X, is just going to sit there. It's not going to leap into my face and force itself down my throat. It's going to do nothing. So I don't have to be scared of that lump of lead. Now, picking it up. When I pick it up and start to handle it, do I then have to worry about it? Well, no, because it's not getting into my body. It has to get into me. And the thing about lead and lead oxides is they're completely insoluble. So there's no way for this to get in. Now, this material, this is roof flashing. It's something that's used the world over by millions of people as they put it around their chimneys and windows to stop the ingress of water. They don't wear gloves or masks, they don't complain, they don't worry about it, and they don't die of cancer or hair loss because it's safe to do that with it. It just doesn't matter when it's a lump of lead like that. Now, I may be going overboard on that, but somebody wrote to me saying, aren't you worried about handling lead metal? No, why would I be? Now, this stuff has to get into your body. And there's only two ways for it to get into your body. One is if the lead is actually soluble, it can be absorbed by the skin. Or you ingest it, you have a drink of some of it, and that soluble stuff will get into your bloodstream. And yes, that's extremely dangerous. Which means that any lead salt that is soluble, and here I'm thinking about lead acetate in particular, is something you don't really want to be handling without gloves because it can be absorbed into the skin. But it's a liquid, people, so you have to stick your hand in there. You have to take a swig. If you're not doing that, it's not going to do anything. So when you're handling a soluble lead salt like lead acetate, wear gloves and resist the temptation as much as possible to drink it. It does actually taste sweet, because this is the stuff that the Romans used to sweeten their wine. So it actually tastes quite nice, so they say. But you've got to resist that temptation to take a swig, otherwise you will be lead poisoning yourself. So that's one of the main issues with lead, is working with soluble lead salts. The other issue with lead, incidentally, and how we can get into your body is when it's a dust. When it's a fine particulate dust, then you can breathe it in. Incidentally, a really interesting study was done on lead paint, because everybody was under the impression that lead paint was horrendous. And yes, it is. Lead paint is horrendous. But when it's a paint and sitting on your house, it doesn't do anything. But people rushed to have the lead removed, and they sanded all this down and filled the air full of lead dust. So, of course, when working in an environment like that with lead dust, where you're sanding lead paint, it was dangerous. It wasn't the lead paint that was dangerous. The lead paint as paint was fine. The lead dust was dangerous. And actually it was more dangerous to your health to remove the lead paint than just to leave it there. And now actually what they're doing when they discover lead paint is, surprisingly enough, just leaving it there. Because it's far safer to do that. It has to be dust. Now in a previous video, of course, we took some lead acid batteries and we made this stuff. This is red lead. Now you'll notice it's in a container and it is a dust, and when I was handling that, and when I do handle that, I wear this thing. It's a dust mask. A couple of little HEPA filters there. Pop that on while it's a dust form and you're going to be fine, because those dust particles actually are quite large. When it gets into this form, and this is the other stuff that we made, this is yellow lead, and you can see that I've put it into solution because I wanted to grind up the particles to a very fine powder. Here it's in solution. This has no danger associated with it at all. I could even stick my hands in there if I want. As long as I wash them afterwards before I eat a sandwich, then I'm going to be fine. It's extremely safe when it's in that form because it's not a dust and it's not soluble. So that's actually really quite safe. So getting it from here to here, of course, involves pouring this out. So stick a mask on. Once it gets into that form, stop worrying about it. So lead and the dangers of lead are really easy to remediate against. Be aware of what types of lead are poisonous, and there's only really two: lead in dust form and soluble lead salts. Chances are you're never going to handle a soluble lead salt because you don't really need to. But if you are, wear gloves. If you're going to handle dusts like this, wear a decent filtration mask and you're going to be perfectly safe. If it's sitting like that, as a lump of metal, and you're worried about it, then really you don't have enough in your life to worry about. Of course lead metal is dangerous. If you have a ton of it dropped on your head, it will certainly kill you. But lead metal like this is really going to do nothing at all. So I hope that covers the dangers of lead, which really are minuscule as long as you take the right precautions, which are pretty trivial to do. And I hope you enjoyed watching the video. If you can't resist leaving a health and safety comment in the further videos, of course I'm just going to point you to this one. So thank you very much for watching.